evening. I am calling the Wayne-Westland special meeting of the Board of Education to order at 6:25 p.m. I will ask that everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Roshan, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Hines, will you please call roll?
Mr. Umbras,
Present.
Miss Abney Mitchell,
Present.
Dr. Weaver,
Present.
Miss Hines present, Mr. Cox,
Present.
Mr. Roshan,
Present.
President May.
Present.
We have everyone here 7-0.
Thank you so much. We are next at the item on our agenda for the superintendent search interviews. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly go over the superintendent search qualifications and candidate profile. The qualifications are mandated through the state of Michigan. The candidate profile was built based upon the intake surveys that the community participated in, as well as the intake meetings that were held that included both staff, community members, students, also the Board of Education. So MDE's qualifications for a superintendent include educational administrative experience, a master's degree in related field, advanced degrees such as an EDS, EDD, or Ph.D. preferred, Michigan Administrative Certificate or equivalent, broad and diverse work experience, classroom experience preferred, alternative qualifications as deemed acceptable by the Board of Education. The candidate profile. Wayne-Westland Community Schools is seeking a dynamic, visionary, and inspirational superintendent who exemplifies the following qualities. Demonstrates integrity and strong ethical standards in all actions and decisions. Is approachable, visible, and accessible to students, staff, families, and the community. Possesses strong financial acumen, ensuring the district's financial health, stability, and long-term sustainability. Attracts, develops, and retains students and high-quality staff. Holds self and others to high standards of performance and accountability. Is deeply student-centered, consistently placing students at the forefront of decision-making. Ensures a safe, secure, and supportive learning and working environment. Treats all individuals with dignity and respect. Leads with kindness, empathy, professionalism, and authenticity. Builds trust. Fosters collaboration, teamwork, and consensus among diverse stakeholders. Maintains a whole child focus, supporting the academic, social, and emotional development of every student. Our first round interviews are taking place this evening, Monday, March 16th. We will have Dr. Alex Ofili and Thomas A. Hart. Tuesday, March 17th, we will have Mayshian Jackson and Kimberly Leverett. And Wednesday, March 18th, we will have Peter Kutlak and Catherine Cost. Good evening. On behalf of Wayne-Westland Community Schools, again, I would like to welcome Dr. Alex Ofili to this interview for the position of superintendent. Dr. Ofili is Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for Wayne-Westland Community Schools. I will take a few moments to briefly describe our format. The interview may take up to 90 minutes. There will be 21 questions from the board. Toward the end of the interview, time permitting, we will give you the opportunity to ask questions of the board and make a closing statement. We will let you know if time is becoming an issue and there is a need to pick up the pace of the responses. And I will do that by giving you a hand signal, okay? For those present for this interview, we welcome and encourage your feedback. You should see this QR form in various seats, and this is what you will use to provide your feedback. Rather than making public comments about our candidates, we ask that you use the QR code provided for this purpose. Although the task of choosing our next superintendent is the responsibility of the Board of Education as the elected representatives of our community, we value and seriously consider the input of our stakeholders in the process. And with that, we will begin with our opening question. And that starts with me. Dr. Ofili, while we have had the opportunity to review your application materials, audience members have not. Please briefly review your background and share what causes you to be interested in this position at this point in your career.
Thank you, President May. I would like to start off by thanking the Board of Education for giving me this opportunity. I would also like to thank the people that are in attendance today because this is a very, very important decision for not only for the district, but for the community at large. I would like to thank my wife, who's in attendance as well, because she has been with me through every major milestone in my life, and this is one of the biggest professional experiences that I've come to. Before I talk about my experiences, I think it would be, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I've been sitting in the seat for the past 4 years, and as the assistant superintendent, a lot of times we have community members that attend our board meetings, and they have a lot to say. And unfortunately, because some of the things that they're saying as it pertains to personnel or sensitive matters, I'm not able to speak to. So I'm excited today because I feel like this is one of the first times since I've been here that I'm able to share who I am, share my passion for education, and share what I believe will lead us to new heights in Wayne-Westland. So I'm very excited about that experience. And what I would like to do before I talk about my experiences, professional experiences, I want to talk about what led me into education. So I went to the University of Michigan where I had a chance to play football. And at the University of Michigan, part of my experience was participating in athletics. One of the joys of being a part of the athletic team was much of my leadership development came from sports, but one thing that was really important as a student athlete at the University of Michigan was participating in community outreach. One of the most impactful experiences that I had, which led me into education, was doing work for the Prison Creative Arts Project. And during that time, I was working with kids that were locked up. When I went there for the very first time, one thing that I discovered that's really shaped the way that I lead is when I was working with those young men, I was told to go there and just talk to them about their portfolio or getting ready for their GED. And I discovered that it was an enjoyable experience for me initially. It took me a lot of time to figure out the way that I was going to break through to those young men was for me to establish a real relationship with them. And at that moment, that's when I knew that I was able to break through, they had an enjoyable experience, and I knew that mentorship is something that's extremely important to me as a leader. That also led me into becoming a elementary teacher. After my time at the University of Michigan, I decided that it was time for me to become a teacher, and I interviewed at Bingham Farms in Birmingham. The principal at that time had me interview for a 5th grade position. The experience went smoothly. He gave me a call and told me that he was going to be hiring me to be to join the school, but he asked me if I would be a 1st grade teacher. And at that time, I thought to myself, there's no way I could be a 1st grade teacher. But one thing that he said to me that really stuck was, I see something in you, and if you have the ability to connect with kids at this early point in their life, when they're extremely vulnerable and sensitive, it's going to behoove you to, it's going to give you the skills to lead on a larger level. At that moment, I decided to be a 1st grade teacher, and I was the first African-American male in that building, and I was able to make some connections and provide a perspective in Birmingham that they didn't have. After my time as a 1st grade teacher, I then went to Ypsilanti as an assistant principal. I spent 3 years in the classroom, then I went to Ypsilanti as an assistant principal at the high school and the middle school. And one thing that was interesting about Ypsilanti, it's a very similar community to Wayne-Westland. You have people that care deeply about the community, a lot of generational connections, and the other piece of that was I grew up in Ypsilanti. So what it taught me going back to the community where I grew up was I had to lead with humility, because I was working with people that had seen me for a very long time. And when you come back as a young man and you're leading people that had just as many years of experience in the craft as you were, I was a 20-something-year-old, I discovered really quickly that you had to show respect and you had to connect. After my time at Ypsilanti as an assistant principal, I went back to Birmingham as an assistant principal at Derby Middle School. When I was at Derby, one of the things that came to light was, are the people in that community, it was an affluent community, and they had the means to send their kids to wherever they wanted to send them. It was important for me to figure out how to tailor what we did to give everyone the experience that they needed, or we would lose students. Similar to what we're experiencing right now. We've lost a lot of kids in Wayne-Westland to the charters and to local districts, and I've had the experience of tailoring an experience for students to keep them at home. After my time at Derby, I then stepped into an elementary principalship in Village Oaks. Now, what was unique about my time as an elementary principal at Village Oaks was we were the smallest school in size during that time, and we had an evolving population of students that were coming there. When I first arrived, it was a small school. We were kind of the school that was seen as the Title I school on the other side of the tracks. And what we were able to do over the course of 5 years was magical. We went from being the school that nobody wanted to attend. We grew in enrollment so much so that we had to change our boundary lines and we had to redistrict. That happened because of a collaborative effort of us working together and moving test scores up. At the end of my time at Village Oaks, we went from being the smallest school to being the largest elementary school. We redistricted, and we also improved test scores to the point where we were now a nationally recognized school, and we were a state school of character. After my time in Village Oaks, I then came to Wayne-Westland. And I've been in this seat for the past 4 years, and I'm extremely proud of the work that we've done. We've had some difficult times here in Wayne-Westland, but during my 4 years as the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, we've settled some really lucrative contracts. We've seen our way through some challenging financial times. And one of the things that was really important to me as a Human Resource Assistant Superintendent was to put the human in human resources. And the way that I've been able to do that with my team is we've now found ways to celebrate our staff through our GEM Awards. Every single month, I get to have a chance to go around the district to celebrate all the people that are doing amazing things. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, what makes Wayne-Westland a special place are the people. I've also had an opportunity to establish an Employee of the Year recognition. So each collective bargaining group at the end of each year, we're able to hear from their members, hear from people around the district, and we are now celebrating the people for the work that they do. One of the other things that we've been able to do here at Wayne-Westland through my leadership in the HR space is we're having a focus on the wellness of our employees. Next week, if you guys are able to come out, I would encourage all staff members to attend our wellness series where we did a partnership with Hygera, and we discovered that we need to find ways to lift up our staff and give them opportunities to be supported beyond the contract. That's going to extend beyond the work that we're doing with our staff to our community, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that over the course of these questions. But I want to say that I understand the gravity of the decision that you guys are going to make, and based off of my experience at the building level, as an elementary teacher, as a secondary administrator, and now 4 years in Wayne-Westland as the assistant superintendent, I'm very confident that I have the experience, the connections that I've been able to build over the course of my time here in the district, and we can do some really special things.
Awesome, thank you. The next question. Based on your research about our district, what do you believe are the 2 or 3 most critical long-term priorities we must address? And how do your background and skills position you to lead that work?
Well, first and foremost, we have to identify an identity as a school district. We've had a lot of turnover in leadership positions, and the first thing that we have to do is make sure that we can have students return back to the school district. We have almost 4,000 kids that reside in Wayne-Westland that don't attend our school district. And one of the most important things for me to do as the superintendent is to make sure that through a marketing effort that's going to be led by the community, led by the school district, and led by our teachers, we're going to identify who we are, and we're going to have people return to Wayne-Westland. One of the most important things that we have going on in our school district is the work that's coming out of our Career Tech Center. And I believe if we can expand our offerings, and everyone that lives within this region of the state knows that the Career Tech Center is special, we can pull people back to Wayne-Westland by expanding our offerings through that space. And we have an innovative academy that offers different opportunities for our kids to learn. If we can spend time really identifying through a task force how we can have more innovation in our district and expand those efforts or offerings to our students, I believe that's the first place that we start, and it's going to impact our enrollment. If our enrollment continues to decline, it's going to impact everything. So I think one of the most important things that we have to do first is identify who we are as a school district, and then that's going to help us with our marketing to the communities around us, and that's going to bring students back. The next thing that's really important to me as someone that oversees personnel, we have a lot of staff members that are on their way to retirement. Across the state, across the nation, we have a shortage of teachers. It's really important for us to create a space where people want to stay and that we continue to attract. I was very influential in leading the district to get these contracts that we have, but one thing that we discovered, money can bring people in, but if we want people to stay, it's because we have to create a space where people feel like it's home, not just for our staff, but for our families as well. I've been able to work closely with a lot of leaders in this district. I've been able to connect with our staff members in different types of ways, and I know that we have talent and we have a lot of things that we have to do a better job of celebrating. If we're able to do that, I believe that the enrollment's going to go up. I also believe that we're going to be able to have an identity. And then the last thing that I would say that we have to continue to work towards, and we've done a really good job of targeting our strategic plan, is student achievement. Our staff has been working extremely hard to align our curriculum, align our assessments, and one of our key focuses right now for our strategic plan is making sure that our Tier 1 supports are in place and that our Tier 1 instruction is in place. We also have done a really nice job of talking about our MTSS process. And for those people that don't understand what the MTS process, it's just an approach for us to support students at the appropriate level, whether it's academically or emotionally. And one thing that I would like to point out is, as a father of three, I have three very different children. I have a child that is achieving at an extremely high level, high IQ. I have a young man, a second son that's cognitively impaired, and he doesn't learn the same way. And I have a young lady, my baby girl. She's smart, she loves school, but within my own household, I have three very different students. The MTS approach that we're focusing on as a school district is the way that we offer the supports that are needed for every single student. So as a father of three that has three very different children, I know how important it is for us as a school district to provide appropriate instruction to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all kids. So if you were to ask me what the most important priorities for us as a school district are, it's around enrollment, it's around creating an identity to bring kids back and to keep kids here, and it's for us to continue to work collectively to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students so our student achievement can continue to increase.
Thank you. What specific qualities and capabilities do you bring to this position that may set you apart from the others?
One of the most important things for the next person that's the superintendent of the school district is to have connection. One of the things that I pride myself on is building relationships with people. And we have to have someone that has the ability to be here for some time. If you look at the districts across the state of Michigan that have grown, they're the districts that have stability and leadership positions. In Wayne-Westland, we have a lot of people that come to the school district. Some are coming for financial reasons, some are coming because it's a big opportunity, but if you don't understand the landscape of Wayne-Westland, you're not gonna succeed. I've been here for 4 years. I've been in the elementary setting, the middle school setting, the high school setting, and now central office. There's not too many applicants that have had a wide range of experiences and that have lived through some of the challenges and still have a lot of career ahead of them. I have the ability to continue to build with some of the relationships that I've made over the course of 4 years, and I believe that the next superintendent has to understand the importance of relationships, and they also have to have the opportunity to stay here for a long period of time. If we're gonna continue to build on the systems that we've established, we have to make sure that we're doing it collaboratively, and there needs to be a period of time for someone to grow with the Board of Education and with the staff at large.
Thank you. Mrs. Hines, you have the next set of questions.
Please excuse me, I have some allergies going on right now. Maintaining healthy relationships with school and community stakeholders is important to the Board of Education. Please share with us, how have you gone about building and maintaining successful relationships with all members of the school community? And I'll read it again because sometimes the questions are a little long.
Yes.
So, maintaining healthy relationships with the school and community stakeholders is important to the Board of Education. It's very important. Please share with us how you have gone about building and maintaining successful relationships with all members of the school community.
Thank you, Trustee Hines. I pride myself on the ability to be honest and the ability to lead with character. And I think I've been in a position where people haven't gotten to see me outside of being the HR. But I'm going to talk a little bit about things that I've done in previous districts, things that I'm currently doing, and things that I would do as the superintendent. So to start off, when I was at the building level, one of the things that was really important to me was doing parent universities. So when I was at a Title I building, we would have Saturday academy or Saturday school for our kids that were underperforming. And when I would meet with the parents, I was able to talk about the instructional strategies that we were offering our students. I would also be able to speak to the parents about who I was as the leader and some of the successes that we were having in our building. That was twofold. It was able to show our families what we were doing, but it was also able to bring them in, and it was a promotional tactic for us as a school district. So being able to have those Saturday opportunities, people were able to see who I was, and I was able to have some real honest conversations. I also had a lot of social events. So when I was a building principal, we had movie nights, we had fun runs, we had bingo, we had daddy-daughter dances. Those were things that were very easy for families that weren't typically comfortable coming into the school, and there were access points. Those are the types of things that I enjoy doing as a building principal, and we have a lot of that going on throughout our district, and I have had an opportunity to attend some of those events that are going on, but it would be really important to me as a superintendent to provide those opportunities for people to see the superintendent in that light. I would also talk about the things that we have going on right now. So when we talk about building community, one of the things that we're doing right now is a staff wellness series for all of our staff members. We established a partnership with Hygera, which is a trusted health provider in our community, and we're going to have our first series that's going to start next week, where I sent an email out to all of our staff members to ask them, what are some training that you would like? We gathered all of that feedback, and we've now created a series that's going to allow all of our staff to receive that support. Eventually, that's going to turn into the same thing for our community, where they're able to receive some of the training that we're providing to our staff members. I've had the opportunity to attend legislative lunches. Most recently, I attended one where Senator Camilleri was providing some updates that were coming from the state. Excuse me. And as a school professional, I was able to sit in there and provide a perspective that a lot of our community members weren't privy to, and that was a way for me to connect with the people that were in attendance for the legislative lunch. Obviously, I am someone that absolutely loves sporting events. I've had an opportunity to go to sporting events and talk to our community about some of the things that are going on, and it allows me to be seen in a different light. What I would do as the superintendent to continue to build on that school home partnership would be having coffee with the superintendent. I would establish some task forces that would have not just administrators, but it would have our teachers, it would have community members, and it would have student voice. By having those task force sessions, I would be providing monthly updates. And the beauty of a task force, it clearly outlines what a goal is. So we have committees throughout the district, but if I create those task forces where I have community members join, I have administrators join, and I have teachers join, I will also be able to provide updates from each one of those sessions to the entire community at large, and that is a way that I would be able to pull the community in.
Sorry about that. Next, how do we create a district-wide culture of continuous improvement? Planning strategically and aligning our actions to achieve a strategic outcome. So again, how do we create a culture of continuous improvement? Planning strategically and aligning our actions to achieve strategic outcomes.
Okay, well, I first want to give credit to members of our CIA department. We have a strategic plan that's going to last from 2025 to 2030 that highlights Tier 1 standard of care, multi-tier systems of support, and attendance. Those are the three overarching things that we're working towards collectively. It's important for us to continue to use the continuous improvement cycle where we're assessing the data, any trends that we're seeing that are positive or that are negative, and that we continue to talk to the community about the progress that's being made. As the superintendent, it's really one of the most important goals or most important tasks is to make sure that our staff and our community understand the goals that we're working towards. And as I said before, when I'm creating a task force, I'm going to be able to pinpoint some of the things that are important to everyone within our organization. So I wouldn't be the one that would be identifying what the task forces are. It would be the board, along with me, and along with other community members, but we would all collectively work together towards those goals. So we look at the data initially, we would then identify the challenges and create those goals and make sure that we continue to circle back. And as we're making progress or not making progress, everyone has to understand the direction that we're moving in.
Thank you. I have maybe one more question. Effective and timely communication is vital to the success of a school district. Please describe the type of communication for students, staff, parents, and the board should expect to receive from you. Say it one more time. So effective and timely communication is vital to the success of a school district.
Right.
Please describe the type of communication students, staff, parents, and the board we should expect or to receive from you. So what type of, we should we expect from, because the question's kind of
Sure. So
wordy.
first it has to be timely, and I think as far as communication goes, it has to be back and forth. Communication is a one-way street. So I'll start with the board. I would want to establish a relationship not just with the board president, but with every single one of our board members, and I would want to have an authentic relationship with every one of them. So they could trust me, and I would be able to trust them, and we will be meeting routinely. And if there's ever anything that comes up, I would expect that the board would share it with me, because we have to be a united front. So as far as the communication that would be expected between me and the board, it will be constant, it will be honest, it will be ongoing. Now, as far as the communication between me and the community, I would have to provide some access points for the community to come in. I know that we have a lot of amazing things going on in the district because I'm a part of the district, but one of the things is I've been able to talk to community members about what they're looking for a superintendent. They want me to be, or the person that's elected, to be accessible. They want them to be honest and direct. And some of the challenges that we've experienced over the past few years, I think the biggest challenge that we've had is people felt there's a lack of transparency. So it's not that people don't expect challenges to occur, but as a superintendent, you have to get in front of it. If something happens, we have to be able to speak honestly and openly about what's going on, and that's what I would do for every community member. They would know exactly what's going on because I would be providing updates and I would be providing opportunities for them to get to hear what's going on throughout the district. Now, as far as the staff, I talked a lot about a task force. The reason why that's important to me is, as I've talked to a lot of the union representatives about what they're looking for, they want to be part of the solution. They want to be part of conversations around school improvement. And as a superintendent, I would make it a point to meet not only with individual union leaders, but with the whole union at large. I would also meet with staff members and I would attend buildings, because I think the best conversation that you can have with people sometimes are informally. As a superintendent, if you're attending social events or you're just walking through the school, they'll be able to give you insight to what's important. But the one piece that I think we've missed out as a school district since I've been here is finding opportunities for student voice. I know that we have leadership groups at each of one of the high schools. As the superintendent, it would be important for me to find out from the student's vantage point, what's working, what do we need to improve on, and how can we get better? So as far as communication is concerned, it needs to be done directly, it needs to be done honestly, and it needs to be transparent. And if I think about some of the areas where we've come up short as a leadership team, it's because people didn't feel that we were being open throughout the process.
Thank you. Next we have,
Dr. Ofili, what is your experience with threat assessments, and what have you learned from these experiences?
Thank you, Dr. Cox, or Mr. Cox.
Thought I was gonna get a promotion there.
So I have been a part of, we have a safety committee, and part of our safety committee has done the training for our ALICE training. All of our staff members have gone through ALICE training, and I've been a part of the implementation of it in a previous district, and I talk routinely with the members of our emergency committee. So I understand that we have to make sure that we are always aware of ways to respond during times of emergency. We have to make sure that we understand the safe points of all of our buildings, or the dead spots in all of our buildings, and that comes from having conversations with our facility managers. Comes from having conversations with our building principals. And as far as I'm concerned, the number one priority for a school district is to make sure that everyone is safe and protected. So I'm aware of all of the training that we've provided. I'm aware of the people that lead safety charges throughout our district, and I'm in constant communication with administration and with our staff around ways to continue to maintain a safe environment.
You know, superintendents are often faced with making decisions when there is no clear right answer and the community is divided. Please describe a time when you faced such a decision, including how you approached the decision-making process and how you worked to build understanding and support for the direction you chose.
Could you repeat that question, Mr. Cox?
Superintendents are often faced with making decisions when there is no clear right answer and the community is divided. Please describe a time when you were faced with such a decision, including how you approached the decision-making process and how you worked to build understanding and support for the direction you chose.
One of the biggest learning experiences that I've had professionally was over the past few years when we were working through the financial challenges that we've had. A lot of good came out of that experience, a lot of challenges came out of that experience, and one of the things that it taught me was the importance of working collaboratively. When we experienced what we perceived to be a serious financial discrepancy, it took members of our executive team with members of our CIA team and even union leadership to have some real challenging conversations. What I learned from that experience is you have to be transparent with the decisions that you're making, and if you don't get in front of any decisions that are being made, it causes a lot of people to not trust. And we were able to get through that because we worked collectively. We were able to move money around. Some of it was one-time money. I made some difficult decisions as the head of personnel where we had staff members, because we were overstaffed in certain spaces, where I had to move people because contractually we were allowed to. But if I think back, I now understand the importance of telling people the why before we do it. As we worked through it as a whole, we made some decisions that got us to a good place financially, but it caused a lot of people to be hurt along the way. So as I reflect on that experience, we grew collectively, I grew professionally, but I understand when you're making difficult decisions, you have to make sure that everyone understands the why, and you have to talk them through why you're doing it. They might not necessarily agree to why you're doing it, but I think there's a level of respect and trust that's established when you're having those conversations.
Thank you. Please share specific ways that our district should work with other districts to support learning for all students.
So one of the things that I would do as a superintendent is I would have a paired district profile. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when we look at student achievement, we're comparing ourselves to the rest of the state. There are some districts that have a similar makeup that we have, and they're doing things really well, things that we're not doing. They might be creative in the way that they've attacked some of the problems that they've had, and I would want to find out who has a similar demographic, who's experienced some of the enrollment trends that we've experienced, and I would establish that partnership so our leadership team could work with them to find out if they're doing anything that's dynamic or innovative that we can bring back to our school district. Another thing that I've noticed is a lot of schools have started to put together a portrait of a graduate. That's something we haven't done yet as a school district, and I think it's really important when we talk about the image and who we are as a school district. We have to understand how we want our students to arrive at their destination. So as far as I'm concerned, I would want to find out a district that's just like us, and we can work in tandem to make sure that we're stealing some of the magic that they're doing in their space, and we can bring it back to Wayne-Westland. Because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If there's another district that has something going on that we think is special, that our kids deserve, I would make it my point as a superintendent to work with that superintendent so we can grow collectively.
Thank you, Dr. Ofili.
Dr. Ofili, good evening.
Good evening.
What is the most difficult decision that you've had to deal with in your career in education, and how was it resolved? And it wasn't me as a board member, so let's go from there.
Well, I'll tell you, I went through a long bout of bargaining. It was at times rough, but ultimately we were able to work collaboratively with our union leaders, and we came to something I'm very proud of. We have great contracts right now, but what I think it taught me is if you keep students at the forefront and you keep people at the forefront and you work in tandem with the people that matter, you'll arrive at something. Even though there were times where it appeared that there was no end in sight, we were able to get through it through honest dialogue. At times it was contentious, but I learned that if you have a goal in mind and you work collaboratively with a group of people, you can have success. So I would say that was one of the most challenging experiences, but from it came great contracts, and I think people are proud of where we are as it pertains to what we did for this organization.
Thank you. What are the key elements needed to establish and maintain a good working relationship with the staff and the Board of Education?
It starts with honest and open dialogue. I think my time in every role that I've been in order for me to really grow, I had to establish true, authentic relationships with people. So if I'm the superintendent, I look at us as a team of 8, and there might be times where we might not agree behind the scenes, but when we go to the community, we have to be a united front. So I would say the most important thing when it comes to a relationship between me and the board would be having open and honest dialogue and coming to a consensus when we present it to the community. And what was the other portion of that question, Dr. Weaver?
Let me get back to it. Our staff and our board, how would you maintain that good working relationship?
The other important part when it comes to a relationship with the staff is I have to be where they are. I have to see what they're doing. I have to understand the challenges that they're experiencing. And again, it goes back to having that open conversation. When it comes to someone that was a teacher, the thing that I appreciated the most was working with people that knew what I was doing. as the superintendent, I have to get in there and see what our custodians are doing. I have to go in there and see what our teachers are doing. I have to go in there and see what our bus drivers are doing, and I've been doing that. For the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to get into different spaces. Not as much as I would like with our teachers, but I do have an opportunity to speak to all of our union leaders, and they can talk about the challenges that they're experiencing. And in order for us to grow as an organization, we have to have ongoing dialogue.
All right, question number 3. How do you inspire and engage the entire school community in support of the district's vision and mission?
Dr. Reeves, could you repeat that last portion again?
Community in support of the district's vision and mission.
Well, first, I believe they have to understand what our mission and our vision are. And we've done a good job of coming up with a district strategic plan. And as at the board office, everyone's been a part of it. But in order for people to get behind any vision, they have to understand it, and they have to feel that it's authentic and it's just not words on paper. So as the superintendent, if you want to mobilize any group of people, they have to feel connected to you. They have to feel that the things that we're saying aren't just words, and they have to understand that it's all to benefit students. Right now, we have done a lot of great things as a school district, but the area where I think we're lacking is having our staff and our community feel like they're part of the school. And in order for us to do that, we have to have as many opportunities as possible for people to join those conversations and to know how the superintendent feels, how the superintendent thinks, and it can't be other people that are speaking on behalf of the district. It has to be the superintendent that lets people understand, here are the challenges that we're experiencing, here's the progress that's occurred, and after you've given people access to you and they understand your why, I believe that they really do get behind it. But we also have to make sure that it's a two-way conversation, because if people have challenges or they feel as if they're not valued or heard, they're not going to get behind any mission or vision that the district is promoting. So we have to know who our people are, we have to give them opportunities to talk, and we have to work collectively, and I do believe that people will get behind that.
Thank you, Dr. Ofili.
Thank you.
Dr. Ofili, before we pass it to Trustee Rashawn, I just wanted to share that you have 9 questions remaining and a little under an hour. Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Ofili.
Good evening.
My question is, what experience and success have you had with closing the achievement gap for economically disadvantaged and minority students?
Thank you, Trustee Rashawn. Well, again, one of the proudest experiences that I had was as a building principal. The reason why that was such a magical time in my professional life was because it was a Title I school. We had over 51 languages that were represented within that building. And when I got there, we were achieving at a relatively good level, but when you looked at our minority population, it wasn't there. So what I had to do as a building principal was first have some courageous conversations that were data-driven. It was no indictment on the work that we were doing, but if we wanted to be a top-tier performing school, I had to step in and have some real conversations about where we were as the data presented itself. And then what I discovered pretty quickly as I looked at the different grade level bands, I was able to see that some grade levels were having a lot of success as it pertained to our minority populations, and some grade levels were struggling. I then had to make sure that I explained that the success of one student is the success of all students, and we were able to have staff members leading a lot of the PD. We were able to have our instructional coaches get in the classrooms. Now, the tricky part about that is there has to be a level of psychological trust for the staff to let people come in to observe what they're doing and provide feedback. When you talk about growth and you talk about a synergy, it takes everyone doing that work. It takes, and this is what we did in the position where I was, that we had a growing population of immigrant families that were coming in, and I was able to have some of those immigrant parents come in and provide insight about cultural differences that they had. Once I was able to have our parents lead some of the Ph.D. around cultural differences, I was able to have our instructional coaches get into classrooms and provide targeted supports, and we were able to have staff meetings that were led by different staff members. We saw the improvement go through the roof. So we went from being a school that was achieving at a good level to achieve a school that went through the roof. And I look at my time in Novi as a microcosm of what I would do here in Wayne-Westland. And we have some great things going on, but we have to make sure that we're working collaboratively to continue to achieve.
Right. The next question is, reading at grade level by third grade is a critical milestone for future academic success. What strategies will you support to ensure all students achieve grade level literacy by the end of third grade?
I'm just taking notes, give me one second. So one of the highlights that I think we have going on in our district right now is the work that's coming out of our literacy task force. This was a collaborative effort that I really want to applaud our teachers and our CIA leadership on putting that work together. They were able to look at the assessments, they were able to look at the curriculum, and they were able to look at some of the data. And once we were able to align that work, we then were able to have some of the, and once the curriculum was adopted, we were able then to start having conversations about best practices. It's really important for us as a school district to continue to look at data and have honest conversations. And when we experience success in one school, we can replicate it in another school. When we experience success in one grade level, we can replicate it in another grade level. So I would say we would want the momentum to continue to go that we've established here in Wayne-Westland. And as the superintendent, I would promote the work that's taking place. Obviously, I'm part of the district improvement plan, so I'm able to take part in some of those conversations, but I don't know if everyone understands that we have a lot of great things that are already in place, and we just have to continue to support the work that's going on. Because it takes time for real progress to occur, but it's going on right now in our district, and a lot of the best practices are already being done. We just have to make sure that we're replicating it across the district.
My final question is, what is the biggest risk you have taken to do what is right for children?
I'm trying to provide an example that doesn't give too much information about personnel. All right, without going into too much detail, as I deal with investigations in HR, and even as I've dealt with situations as a building principal, sometimes you have to make decisions that are unpopular, but you know that they're in the best interest of a student. I've had situations both in previous positions and even now in the district where someone has made a poor choice that wasn't in the best interest of a student, and despite pushback from colleagues or from the community, we've still had to do what we understood was an appropriate response to not putting a child in a safe space. And I'm not talking about physical safety. I'm talking about them saying or doing something that was insensitive, and having established a baseline that this is not okay for our students and for our families. So I don't want to go into too much detail, but I've had several situations where discipline had to be administered because someone has said or done something that wasn't in the best interest of a student. And even though it was an unpopular decision, it set the tone that kids have to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Trustee Ambrose.
Thank you, Dr. Ofili. We're going to talk a little bit about finances. Please describe your experience developing and managing budgets, including the largest budget you have overseen, and the strategies you use to maintain a balanced budget.
So working in the school district right now, I work very closely with our CFO and the business office. So every single week, I meet with our business office and members of my HR team. When it comes to the budget that we're managing right now as a school district is based off of the work that's going on day in and day out. And when you think about trends and you think about contracts, as someone that deals closely with personnel, we have different line items that we look at every single week. And we have programming that we look at every single week, and that all deals with the bottom line of our budget. When it comes to managing a budget, you have to make sure that the decisions that you're making all are in line with the priorities of the district. So you start with forecasting for the future. You take into consideration anything that might be different as it pertains to funding that's coming from the state or student enrollment. Right now, we've experienced a decline in student enrollment, and that's going to ultimately impact our budget. I work closely with our CFO and with personnel decisions, and that is going to have an impact on the bottom line. So the budget that we're managing right now as a school district, much of the bottom line is with personnel. And as someone that has dealt with the contracts and as someone that has dealt with the movement of positions, I would say that the biggest budget that we're working with is the budget that we currently oversee. And I will be the first to admit that the CFO and the people from that department are the ones that are keeping the closest eyes on that. But as someone that deals with personnel, I have to work beside them to make sure that we are making wise decisions that are student-driven and that are in line with our curriculum decisions.
Budget limitations often require difficult decisions. What opportunities do you believe these constraints create, and what priorities would guide your decision-making during challenging financial times?
During challenging times, the first thing that you have to think about is students. So if there's any big ticket items that need to be addressed or we need to pivot in any way, we need to make sure that we always keep students first, and we also have to protect instruction. So if we start with looking at the programming or the line items that are furthest away from the classroom, that's where I would start. But I would also understand the importance of doing what's in the best interest of the community at large. So when it comes to making any financial decisions, it's a collaborative effort. It's one where the superintendent would have to work closely with the board, but it's also in a very important experience when you're working with members of your business office and members of the community at large. So if we ever ran into financial challenges, which it happens, there's a lot of times where things come from the state that are unexpected. There's times when you lose enrollment and you have to make some difficult decisions. I would say that any decision that we're making collectively, we have to make sure that students are taken care of first. We have to make sure that we stay as far away from the classroom as possible. And we have to have some open and honest conversations with the unions. So if I would tell you these things happen, honest conversations have to take place. We have to be transparent, but we have to make sure that we're strategic about anything that we keep within our budget has to be supported by our district strategic plan. And we need to make sure that everybody is at the table to understand where we're going.
Last question. Please describe your experience with millage renewals, bond proposals, and sinking fund proposals, and what you believe contributed to the success or failure of those efforts.
Well, I first want to start off by saying thank you to the community because we just passed our bond, and that's going to be key to the success of the school district. I would be, if I'm being perfectly honest with the community and with the board, I would be working very closely with our CFO. I'd be working very closely with our construction managers and our architects and our technology managers. I was part of a bond that passed in a previous role as a building principal where I was providing feedback about some of the purchases that were gonna be going on within the building. But in this capacity, this will be the first time that I would be having this type of experience working with the bond or with the sinking fund. I understand very well how the money's gonna be spent. $25 million of this bond will go towards technology improvements, and I oversee our technology department. So that would be a department that I would work very closely with. But when it's all said and done, I would rely heavily on the architects, the construction managers, and members of our executive team as we're walking through the bond. But as the superintendent, it will be very important for me to make sure that I'm keeping everybody abreast of the progress that we're making towards those improvements. And if we had to make any changes in it for any reason, I would also be providing those updates to the community.
Thank you, Dr. Ofili.
Thank you.
Ms. Evan Mitchell.
Yes. Good evening, Dr. Ofili.
Good evening.
Please describe your approach to working with other administrators in the district, including how you would balance providing support, alimony, with maintaining appropriate accountability.
Could you repeat that one more time, Ms. Evan Mitchell?
Please describe your approach to working with other administrators in the district, including how you would balance providing support and autonomy with maintaining appropriate accountabilities.
I believe that it begins with clear goals and targets. I also believe that you have to start with open and honest dialogue. One of the things that I believe makes me unique to other people that might be applying for this position, I've been able to build relationships with the administrators. I meet routinely with our administrators, and there's a relational trust that's already established. I am a firm believer that I would never ask anyone to do something that I'm not willing to do. And if there's someone that needs support, I come from the place of everyone wants to be successful. And the success of the superintendent is based off of the success of the administrators. Now, with that being said, sometimes there's a skill and a will when it comes to someone being successful. And if it's a skill, you can support them. You can provide guidance, you can work, if need be, you can put someone on an improvement plan. But what's most important is walking beside them. Now, if it's a will situation, that's another conversation. Because we want to make sure that people come to work every single day, willing to work hard and to do what's in the best interest of their organization. And if they're not operating in that manner, then there's a different type of conversation. But I would tell you that I've built relationships with our administrators. And at times, being in the role that I'm in, there have been times where I've had to say no. There's been times where I've had to provide feedback that they might not have liked, but it's always with the best interest of the organization and the people that I work with. And the way that I've been able to grow has been by working with people beside me, so I would provide the same level of support and guidance to every one of our administrators.
The next question is, what would you suggest in terms of comprehensive professional development plan for our educators? Especially, what would be the key priority area as well as the delivery system. Yeah, I'll repeat it for you if you like.
Thank you.
What would you suggest in terms of a comprehensive professional development plan for our educators? Specifically, what would the key priority areas as well as the delivery system?
So one of the things that we decided that we're going to do to have some cohesion across the district, and this isn't a academic piece, but I believe that you have to start with creating a space where everyone feels safe and valued. We're exploring Capturing Kids' Hearts. It's a program that's going to give us a united language, shared language, where we're putting kids at the very forefront. I'm going to be going with a team of our administrators tomorrow to Detroit to find out more about that training. The reason why that's really important to me is if we are coming up with the image of who we are as an organization and we're saying that students are at the forefront, we have to create a space where everyone feels safe. So before we can get to the academics, we have to make sure that we're always talking about students feeling like they're part of the organization. And that training is going to be not just for our teachers, it's going to be for administrators, it's going to be for our custodians, all of our adults throughout the district are going to go through that PD. I think that's going to be huge when we're figuring out who we are as an organization, and that's going to be an initiative that's going to be provided to everyone across every space within our school district. So that's a PD that's going to be ongoing. It's going to be offered to every single member of the organization. It's going to start in the summer time. And the reason why I think that's really key for us to grow is because everyone's going to receive it, and that's going to be the start of us creating a psychological safety for kids and for adults, where kids know the adults care. So that's one of the PDs that I think is going to be huge for our development and our coming together as an organization. And you guys might not know, but at some point the board's going to also be part of that training as well.
Okay, my final question is, how would you assess the culture and climate of our district? What steps would you take as superintendent to positively influence and strengthen it? So I repeat it again. How would you assess the culture and the climate of our district? And what steps would you take as a superintendent to positively influence and strengthen it?
Well, one of the measuring sticks for us as far as culture and climate is if we start to see an uptick in enrollment, if we start to have kids coming back and community members feeling as if they're part of the organization, that to me is a great sign. The other piece to it is just talking to our community, talking to our teachers, providing data on how things are going. So perception data through surveys is huge. Having open forums with the superintendent leading that to find out exactly, are we improving? Do people feel connected? Do they feel valued? And it goes back to what I said before, where we have great contracts, but the only way we're going to retain and attract people during a time when there's a shortage of personnel across the board is if they feel as if they're part of this is home. A big thing for me as the superintendent would be to create a space where everyone's voice feels heard, and all decisions aren't just made by the executive level leadership, they're made by everyone, from our board members to our teachers to our students. Everyone has a voice, and I believe that we'll be able to measure that over time when we start to see enrollment increasing, and when you see smiles on people's faces. One of the joys of being in education is we're here for kids. And if I'm enjoying myself as a superintendent, I believe that it's going to radiate across the district. And if you talk to our union leaders, right now, depending on what you're talking to them, you might get some great feedback. You might get some feedback about we can do better. And I'll be the first to say, as a superintendent, I would want the baseline to improve every single year, where as you talk to any union leaders, any parents, any students, for them to say, I feel better about my experience being in Wayne-Westland.
Thank you. At this point, we would like to take a few minutes now to provide you with an opportunity to ask any questions you may have for the board.
President May, can you tell me where I am with time?
You have about 30 minutes left,
Oh, okay.
and I'm looking at Mr. Severi to make sure my time, okay, we're on the same page.
All right, so the first question, because I do understand the gravity of this decision for the board, what do you see as the greatest opportunity for growth moving forward?
Before I answer
I'll
this,
take that if,
okay, absolutely.
The Career Tech Center. The Career Tech Center, 2 miles from here to the north, Dr. Ofili, is a business called the Southeastern Michigan Construction Academy. This is a facility that teaches welding, electricians, carpentry, all the same things that we have here at the Vo-Tech Center. But it isn't a money-making organization. It's an outcropping of the trades in the Detroit region that are not being served by school districts because there just isn't anybody to hire. And if you drive by that parking lot at night, anytime between 6 and 9, it looks like Buffalo Wild Wings on Super Bowl Sunday. I think everybody out there knows that if you're a tradesperson, you can do very, very well. And what's more, there's going to be trillions of dollars in construction going on in the next 5 or 10 years. And we have in our district what used to be the diamond of trade school training. Even though other school districts in the area also had trade schools, the other communities were coming here. And if you think about that, if you think about someone that lives in Belleville, for instance, and they want to become a welder, that's the first opportunity they're going to have to learn that the Wayne-Westland School District actually has this kind of a program. They don't have to go, they don't have to go to the college, they don't have to pay SEMCA, they can come right here. They don't know about that because we're not doing anything about it. Or at least we're not doing what I think we should be doing. I think it should be full blast over there. One of the things that I've been trying to do since I've been a member of the Board of Education is something that you said earlier, which is, we have such a diverse student body. We have people that are struggling with basic things for a variety of reasons. Sometimes, that's the last thing on the mind of that student with what they've got going on in their life. But we've also got students that are performing at the top.
Right.
Millions and millions of dollars in scholarships leave our school district every single year. We've got example upon example, but nobody knows about it. And I heard you say throughout the course of your presentation, communication, communication, communication. I don't know how to accomplish it, but I know that if other school districts understand what is available here, we've got everything and it's brand new and in great shape.
Absolutely.
I think that is the key forward. And if we are really trying to serve the community that pays for all of this, that's what they want. Go over on Central City Parkway at 7 o'clock at night and you'll see that's what they want. So that's my answer.
Anyone else, Dr. Weaver?
I'd just like to commend my colleague for answering that question. I believe everything that he said was true. I would just like to add that I would like to see our Career Tech Center expanded building-wise so that we can accommodate all the districts and accommodate our kids that want to come.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would lift, along with CTC, the opportunity for two-way communication. You did speak a lot to it in your answers to your questions, but I think sometimes we often forget that communication is two-way.
Correct.
And that to me helps to expand, to grow our CTC program, right? So that would be the other piece that I would add to that. Any others? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hines.
Yes, and it was some years ago that we used to expand our CTE to like night school for some families as well. And then even like at maybe a small little cost or something that doesn't cost a lot, but just to get them certified, 'cause that would help the families, families in. And the teachers actually liked it 'cause they're making extra money at night. So that could be an option too, like a night school for like some of the people in the community.
Absolutely.
I'll just add this little, just kind of adding on and echoing what my colleague said. 3 things, career tech, C, communication, C, and the last C is community. Making sure our community is involved in everything we do. They're informed before we make the decisions, that they have a seat at the table. So career tech, help me out with my C's, y'all.
Two-way communication.
Communication
Community.
and community. There we go.
Do you have any other questions?
I do. What does a strong and effective board superintendent partnership look like to the members of the board?
I like to say trust is the most important thing. Like when it comes to like board and superintendent relations, you should always protect your superintendent in a way where if you see something's coming up, you gotta let people know ahead of time. And likewise with the board, I like to try to catch stuff like if I see something on Facebook early, like hey, they got this going on, let the superintendent know so that way they can do the damage control. Because a lot of times people love the bad news, but nobody wants to talk about the good news. So it's important to have that trust relationship between the board and the superintendent and transparency. And like before, like if we have questions, we need answers, we need to get it in a timely manner. So that's super important.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mrs. Abney?
I would also like to piggyback off of the trust and transparency and being able to treat all the board members equal. In every job, in every company is a line of communications. Don't follow the line of communications for some board members and just overlook them for others.
Right.
If these are the rules, and this rule reply to everybody. So yeah, transparent, trust.
Mr. Cox?
Thank you. Will you ask that question one more time, Dr. Ofili, because I want to make sure I answer the whole question.
I want to know what a strong and effective board superintendent partnership looks like to each member of the Board of Education.
Yeah, my view of it might look different than others.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So many times over the years, I have experienced as a member of the board and in our search that's occurred at various years for superintendents, when you become acquainted with other professionals in the educational community and their experience, one thing keeps happening over and over again. You ask yourself, or we would ask Dr. Silveri, tell me what is the reason that this superintendent candidate left their position a year before their contract was up? Now, as many times as that question's asked, it almost always comes back to the Board of Education. I'm gonna tell you who causes the problems. It's the Board of Education, because right now, the Board of Education, everybody here likes you. I mean, that's why you're here, okay? And you know what's gonna happen in November? We're gonna have an election. And there's gonna be 2 new people. And they're not gonna know how to flush a toilet around here. And so you, or the superintendent that we choose, is going to not only deal with the people that they already know, and they already know how to communicate with, but there's going to be potentially new people who don't have any experience. And often you might see that board members think that they know more than the superintendent because they go to the buildings or they talk They don't even come close to knowing what a superintendent knows. Even a bad superintendent knows more than any member of the board. And what I have seen time and again, whenever there's an emergency situation, when things are going well, there's 5 people in the room, nobody says anything, but when there's a problem, you're gonna have 2 or 3 board members that say, I don't wanna be any part of this, I'm not involved. You've got a couple that are supposed to support the superintendent, and they don't. The communication from the board is supposed to go through the board president to the superintendent, and then the superintendent responds to the board president, who then responds to the individual board members. But that's not how it works in an emergency. Every board member sends 4 emails. Okay, and so the superintendent has to dealing with 3 emails a day from 7 people that don't know anywhere near what they know. And by the way, run the school district successfully, because we're gonna have a meeting and you're gonna be challenged on that. So the answer to your question is for the board to follow their own policy and to be just as fair in communicating with the superintendent as the superintendent is expected to communicate with them. And that's my answer to that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Anyone else?
President Mayor, where am I with time right now?
You have about 20 minutes.
Okay, so my next question would be, everyone has been elected to be on the board, and it's a huge undertaking, and you're not compensated closely for the amount of time that you put in to support the school and the community. I'm curious it's kind of a twofold question. One, what excites you most about being on the board? And what are you most proud about for Wayne-Westland? Now that you've all been on the board for various amounts of time. So what excites you the most about being on the board? And what are you most proud about?
Ms. Hines?
I like to start, is my favorite part is graduation and giving the kids the diploma. Cause it's like you made an impact to kids and now you're giving them the success and you're like happy that you were able to help them along the way to be very, like knowledgeable in life and have careers. And that's my thing. I love the community. I love kids and really seeing the kids graduate. That's my best part. Actually, when I was in high school, I thought board members were super cool giving up the diplomas. Sorry, sinuses. But that's the most important because you impacted life. I think the board members are more important than like the senators and the, because like we actually have hands-on and just being on the board for 12 years, we were able to do budgets, do bonds, see the buildings. I mean, I can see a lot at a local level, but the diplomas and that graduation and the kids come across the stage is like the best thing ever, being a board member.
Thank you.
Mr. Cox?
Every once in a while, when you get to be my age, you're talking to somebody and they'll say something like, boy, kids these days. Boy, I love to hear that, because I know they don't have any idea what they're talking about. They know 2 kids. The kid next door that didn't return their lawnmower and maybe a grandkid. And that's who they know. But when you're here, it's like you got a gigantic box full of puppies. And they're doing wonderful things, and they're so smart. I mean, they're smart and talented. Go to a basketball game and watch a 16-year-old play basketball, like, and every single one of them. It's just amazing, and it's life-giving, just to be. I remember I moved to Seattle 20 years ago. I had served on the board, and I got transferred, and I'm living in Seattle, and all I thought about was the school district. And I was in city government too, but this is like, it becomes a part of you, and that's pretty selfish,
Yeah.
You just want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of the beauty of all that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Dr. Weaver?
I'll go ahead and you share.
The easy answer, I think, for any board member is the students as what excites a board member most. I enjoyed the art that's out in the foyer. a product of our students and their talents. But this board, rightly so, talks a lot about community, but we very seldom talk about what the staff needs are. And I think that on different occasions, board members have talked in a derogatory manner about staff members and employment issues and those sorts of things. The thing I most enjoy is my relationship with the staff across the district. I find them to be hardworking and find them to be great people personally, and I want to hear their feedback even more than I want to hear community feedback.
Thank you.
Mr. Rochon? Mrs. Abney Mitchell and then Mr. Ambrose.
Well, my answer would be the community, staff, and the students. Being a grandmother with children in the district and going to the bus stops or going to different sport games in that community, and those teachers at Wayne-Westland, they always kicking our kids out. They don't want our kids here from Inkster and everything. Well, what you doing about it? So I decided, with a nudge from Ms. Hines, to get on the board and represent Inkster. They still ain't here, but I'm still representing them. But I have intel now. I see what happened. I had 2 grandsons fall through the creek during COVID. I understand what happened now because I'm here and I hear it and I see it and I built a relationship with staff. Being on the discipline hearing committee, I know they just ain't putting our kids out.
Right.
So just being part of it and knowing, not just listening to the stories, but being an active part of the stories and getting the information. So now when I go to the bus stop with one of my grandkids and somebody say, well, I'm proud. Yeah, I'm in Wayne-Westland school board. Well, they kicked my son out. What your son do?
That's right.
And what you gonna do about it? So that's my part. So I'm a rephrase that. I'm gonna say students, staff, and community. But it started off as community. But in the last 4 years, it has changed quite a bit.
Thank you.
For me, it's my first time being on the board. It's actually been an eye-opening experience. The joy of a student at Stottlemyre when you're in the classroom and you're reading a book to them. Seeing student athletes celebrate success. It's a great feeling seeing our kids achieve great things. And then I look at the staff and I wonder, where do we get these amazing people? Back in, I believe it was May, it was a hot day at the Career Technical Center. You had a bunch of the staff in the district over for a dinner and you celebrated their success. We had the Employee of the Year, and hearing their stories about what they did to help support the students in our buildings. Our GEM Awards, I'm amazed at those because I read those on Facebook all the time. And then the parents that support our kids, from the PTOs to the boosters. It's amazing how much good happens in this district because of the dedication of the people in this community. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to be a small part of it.
Thank you. Mr. O'Shine?
I want to echo what they've already said. the students, staff, and community. I think about all year I've been going to the different schools to sit with the students during lunchtime. That alone just lights up my day. I find myself leaving there, rushing to a meeting at work, wanting to come back. As I talked to the principal today, Mr. Cox, I'll be back to play football with them during recess. It wasn't on my bingo card, but now I'll be the next interim quarterback for recess. But I truly enjoy spending time with the students. It spilled over, it started with the community because I was a member of the community, being active in the community. Now spending that time with the students spills over to my after work schedule where I'm in the community with the kids in my immediate community. And that's what I'll say. That's what really brings me joy in this position. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's me. So for me, it is the kids, always the kids. And when I say that, it is the opportunity to attend various events and have conversations with the kids.
Yep.
Seeing kids in the community, talking to them, and them telling me about what they're doing in school, what excites them, what they enjoy in school. Hearing the kids talk about the staff, right? What this teacher did for them, or what this paraprofessional did, the support that they received, how cool their building principals are. It is really, to me, just amazing. And I don't think that we tell our story enough. We don't tell our full story about all of the remarkable things that are happening in the schools.
Right.
So we talk about the scholarships, which are awesome, and we don't celebrate that loud enough, in my opinion. But when I think about going over to Wayne Memorial for the art show and just seeing the amount of talent in those hallways, not just from students but from staff.
Absolutely.
The work that they have put into that hallway. You know, it's just amazing. People talk about our buildings, not just how clean they are, but just how remarkable they are. They're old buildings, but they have so much character in them, and how warm they feel when you come inside of them. So all of those things that we just don't talk about. And so when you say what makes me proud is having that opportunity to share those things, to talk about those things when I'm in the community. You know, when I'm at the hair salon and somebody next to me is getting their hair done, and they're talking about an experience, and it may not be the best experience, but then I have the opportunity to ask some questions, go deeper, share some positive things that they didn't know about, and then connect them with someone, right? So those are the things that make me proud. Like, I don't sit in the hair salon and shrink in my seat like, oh boy, I don't want to say, like, I say, hey, I sit on the school board. Let's talk more about that, right? Let me help you out. Let me tell you some positive things. So those are the things for
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.
Do you have any other
That's
questions?
my last question.
All right. So we are in the closing pieces of it, and I'd just like to give you the opportunity to share anything else that you'd like to add.
So first and foremost, I want to thank the board for this opportunity. I want to let you guys know, as someone that, like I said before, that oversees hiring and personnel matters, this is the most important decision that can be made that's going to shape the trajectory of Wayne-Westland for the next 30 years. I have the opportunity, and I want you guys to think about when Wayne-Westland was at its height of enrollment, when everyone was singing its praises, we had stability in leadership positions. This is an opportunity for me, as someone that's relatively young in my leadership experience, where we can hire someone that can be in this position for a very long time. I purposely asked every one of you guys those questions because the team would be a team of 8. It would be a whole district team, but there would be a special team that would be built between the superintendent and between the board, and we can do something that would be extremely special for the entire community. We have a change in our population of students, and I've had the experiences where I've worked with a lot of different families, a lot of different communities, and you need a superintendent that feels comfortable working across many different sectors. I've had those experiences. You have someone that has an opportunity, that's had opportunities working between counties. Washington County, Oakland County, and Wayne County. I've established a lot of positive relationships. We'll be able to take what's worked from county to county and bring it here. As I talked about having a peer district profile, and I talked about creating a student profile, those are the types of things that are going on across the country. I'm currently in a program, a graduate program at Harvard. And the reason why I went back to school, I had my Ph.D. already. I wanted to find out what's really working across the country and what's working on a global level. As I get that information back, it's not something I'm gonna just hold on and talk about a book that I read. It's stuff that I'll be sharing with the community, that I'll be sharing with the board, and we'll be able to sell who we are as an organization. I am so proud to be a part of Wayne-Westland, and that we have an opportunity for us to have some stability. And as I've talked to people across the district, the one thing that they're looking for is trust. They're looking for familiar face, and they're looking for someone that cares about kids. I'll do all of that as the superintendent, and there's no one that's gonna outwork me if I get this position. I know everyone that's sitting up here has a love for this community and a love for the kids. I came into education because it's a mission, and I believe if I step into this superintendency, I'll be able to grow professionally and collectively with everyone that's in at the table. So again, I thank you guys for the opportunity. I know how important of a decision this is, and I think you want to think about the long-term sustainability and success of the district, because there's a lot of people that are applying for this job that are competent and look great on paper, but it's a fit position when you guys are making this decision. And as someone that deals with personnel and hires, it's really important for me that you're thinking about the right fit for the job. And I do believe after 4 years of being in this position and every experience that I've had leading up to this position, this would be the pinnacle for me, and you need someone that wants to be here for the long term, and that's what I will be if I'm graced with the honor of being the next superintendent for Wayne-Westland.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ofili. We appreciate your interest in the superintendent's position for Wayne-Westland Community Schools. The board is interviewing 6 candidates this week. We will let you know after our meeting on Thursday, March 19th, where you stand in our search process. Thank you for your participation in this first round interview.
Can I shake hands?
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to take a 10-minute recess.